If you're looking to build a product recommendation quiz, this should be your go-to tutorial, or at least that's my goal of this video. It doesn't matter if you are an e-commerce agency, if you are an e-commerce marketer, if you're an e-commerce business owner, if you're looking to increase performance of your e-commerce business or the e-commerce clients that you work for in terms of conversion rates, return on ad spend, in terms of decreasing return rates, for example, and this is definitely the video for you to watch. Everything that you will learn in this video comes straight from best practices that we teach our users every time. And if this is the first time that you are watching, I'm Jelmer. I've spent around a decade in marketing in B2B SaaS and e-commerce, and last year I co-founded Bluebarry, which is the go-to quiz builder for direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands with a large product catalog, between 50 to hundreds of thousands of SKUs. Here you will find all the topics that we're going to chat about, and of course I'll link these in the different chapters in the video, so you can skip around. And if you're just here to see how a product quiz tool works and how to actually build it in the tool, then I would advise you to go to this specific timestamp, and otherwise enjoy. Well, before we dive into all the different topics, I think it's good to quickly explain what a product quiz is and also show you some examples. So a quiz, as you know, is just answering specific questions, right? And after someone has answered those questions, they get a product recommendation. So it's a product recommendation quiz or a product finder or a guided selling tool. There are a lot of different names for sort of the same thing. It's actually helping your buyers buy in essence. And if you do it right, it can increase your performance. So think about conversion rates, think about return on ad spend, and you gather valuable data about your audience because they're answering questions, and you can gather that data, group the data, and analyze that data to make decisions about your business, make decisions about your quiz, and hopefully increase the performance across your whole marketing funnel. Lastly, you can also decrease your returns, which is not something that everyone thinks about, but helping buyers make better decisions will also help you to decrease the return rate because people always have the right product fit. Let's look at the example of Huel real quick. I think Huel's a very good example. Of course, one of the biggest e-commerce brands out there right now, and they're doing a lot on branding. So most of the visitors will come to the homepage, and as you see immediately on their site, within the hero, they have a secondary call to action, which is take the quiz, and in their menu, they have a primary call to action, which is also take the quiz. So they put their quiz funnel very prominently on the homepage. So let's try it for now. So why do you want to try Huel? Well, I want to gain some weight, have some fitness goals. When are you most likely to have Huel? As a snack and for lunch. What you're in the mood for? Not picky. What matters most to you? Well, some flexible portions and something refreshing. Continue. Now I can either leave my email or skip that step completely, but it's a very good step to connect with your ESP. A lot of brands are doing this, building up an email list and improving the overall customer journey that way. But we'll skip it for now. And now I have a couple of recommendations that exactly fit my answers, which is a very cool personalized funnel for me specifically. Let's look at another example. Nike is their shoe finder. And this is a running shoe finder. And now I can answer some questions about how I will use this shoe. So I'm using it for walking. I want maximum cushioning. My size, not sure about the size. Men's, sorry, that one. Next, and then it's finding my perfect matches. So it's finding my exact shoe based on the recommendations or based on the preferences that I gave within the quiz. And it's presented in a very nice way. Another example, which is one of Bluebarry users, is TheScentNest, which actually got a 22% increase on their return on ad spend within their first month of running a product quiz, which is a very nice bump in their overall performance. So let's look at the quiz again, very prominently on the homepage. Start the quiz, and it starts with a nice start page, begin journey, and this is very cool because I can just leave my name. And then it's reusing that input field within the next question. So it's very personalized. So what's the occasion I'm shopping for? Holidays, weeklies. Just skipping through it right now because it's not very relevant to dive into all of it right now. And then my email, which I'm going to skip. Putting your box together. And now I get some fragrances that actually fit exactly what I've entered into the product quiz. So that's a nice example of an actual Blueberry user. So now that we got the basics out of the way, let's look at why you need a product quiz. Because for different businesses, it could mean different things. So there are a lot of reasons, of course, to start building product recommendation quizzes. You might have the feeling that visitors have a very hard time picking the right product, or they have a little bit of choice stress because your products are very technical and it needs some help, or your conversions are declining, or your return on ad spend is declining. You want to grow your email list. There are a lot of different reasons for you to look into product quiz software and to add it to your e-commerce store. Broadly speaking, I think we have two main categories for these different problems that you have identified. First of all, it's very result-driven problems, right? So you want to increase conversion, you want to increase your return on ad spend, you want to grow an email list, decrease returns, very metric-driven, result-driven. And on the other hand, you have more the usability side of things. So you want a better user experience. You want to help your visitors make better choices. You want to help them navigate during product discovery. But most of the time it's a combination of both. But in the end, it's all about the same thing. It's about helping buyers buy, and by doing so, helping your revenue and helping your cost per customer. Step 2 is about setting goals. I wouldn't overcomplicate this step, especially if this is the first time that you're going to build a product quiz. I would view your first stages more of setting the benchmark. So you want to just create a quiz, put it live, put it on your web shop, and then see traffic come in and see the actual results that your product quiz is bringing in. For example, if after 2 weeks of having a product quiz, you see that your completion rate is around 60%, then your goal might be for the next quarter to increase it to 80%. So you need that benchmark of 60% to actually find a completion rate for you that makes sense, that you can work towards and try to continuously optimize it. And the same goes for conversion rates or return rates. You need that first data set to actually make some decisions afterwards. But you want to tie your metrics or tie the goals that you are setting also to the problems that you identified in the first step, because of course these should all work together. Now let's see if we can build out a quiz strategy. And by building out a quiz strategy, I just mean two things: getting traffic to the product quiz and converting that traffic into purchases. And you can do this in very different ways, and I need to show you a quick example which I created in Figma to explain this topic. So just imagine having two different companies, company A, company B, and company A sells portable power stations, which is a fairly technical product, has a high average order value, and it's often a single purchase, right? There's some upsell possible, there's some cross-sell possible, but it's mainly all about that single purchase. So it's a low lifetime value. Company B, skincare products, low average order value. It's an easy purchase, right? It's not too expensive, and it's a very lifetime value driven industry. Now in the first example of company A, you might run a lot of Google shopping ads or search ads in general. So a lot of traffic will come through product pages and also to category pages. And within those category pages and product pages, you can put your product quiz and send that traffic towards the product quiz. And within the product quiz, you give a couple of recommendations with a call to action, view product, which takes you to the product detail page. And that's where the actual purchase happens. If you want to include your email, it's mainly by asking the question, do you want to receive recommendations by email? And add a email follow-up. So as you can see, this supports a bit of a longer customer journey, and there's not a lot of campaigning afterwards, because as mentioned, we're focusing on that single purchase, and we want that single purchase to actually be the right one. And that's what we're trying to do over here with that combination of the product quiz, the product recommendations by email follow-up, and also that technical or detailed information on the product detail page. However, company B might have a different approach. They might run a lot of social ads, a lot of creatives, a lot of meta ads, TikTok ads, and they have a quiz landing page. So they send their traffic immediately to a quiz landing page. And from those recommendations that someone gets after finishing the whole quiz, you can immediately add those recommendations to the cart and go to the checkout. So they take a lot of steps out of the general e-commerce process, and that way speed up the purchase process and improve their conversions. If you want to add some email follow-up, you can do so by adding 10% discount on your order. Because these products have a lower average order value, it makes sense to add a different discounts if your margins are okay with it, to add a bit of urgency and to make sure that the quiz taker is actually buying the product. Now what you can do with that information, because all the information from the quiz is stored in your ESP, you can send personalized campaigns. And now you're very much focusing on lifetime value, increasing the lifetime value because you know exactly why someone is buying the product and what their unique preferences are. So that's a very different approach. Both use product quizzes, and you have to figure out which one are you. Are you A, B, are you somewhere in the middle? And that defines how you are going to launch a quiz, what your questions will be, and with which tools are you going to integrate it. And that immediately brings me to the topic of web shop placement. Where in your store are you going to place your product quiz? Because every case is unique. I do believe that just listing the possibilities here should be enough to get you inspired and think about and drawing out your own quiz strategy on how it could work for your e-commerce business. Of course, you can place it on your homepage using a banner, using a button, as we saw with the Huel case. You can use it on a collection page, your product listing pages, also with a banner, with a button. You can also use product checks on product pages, which is a different way of using a product quiz, but a lot of SEO traffic and a lot of Google Shopping traffic will land on those product pages, but it doesn't mean that everyone on the product page actually knows what to buy. So it's also a great place of using a product quiz. Also in your top menu, in your footer menu, build landing pages specifically optimized for social ads. You can also build landing pages specifically optimized for SEO. You can show pop-ups after a certain time on the page or when someone wants to exit the page. And of course, if you're writing a lot of blogs, you can also place banners and buttons over there to drive all the traffic towards that product quiz and getting them to a purchase and getting that data from your customer. Okay, so now let's look at the actual quiz content. And of course, within a quiz, you want to ask questions. And if you're struggling to figure out what to ask, I think it's good for you to envision you just having a physical store. And I'm walking in, I see all the products, but I have no clue what to buy. And what questions would you ask me as a buyer that's fully uninformed? And how do you get me to walk out with the specific product that I actually need? And the questions that pop up in your head right now, those are the questions that you likely want to ask in your product quiz. And we always like to explain that there are two types of questions. The first one is a real product question. So it's a question that is used to filter within your catalog and to find a product recommendation. But you also have insight questions, and these are just needed to get to know your audience, because you now have a chance to ask questions to your audience, which is a very valuable thing to do. Now, don't forget to use these, because this will give you a very good overview of different markets, how different campaigns are performing, about the demographics of your audience. You have a lot of possibilities to actually find out all the pain points and trigger points of your audience, and use that in ad creatives, in blog content, in video content. So this is a very valuable step to add to your quiz. But most of the questions are just a combination of both. Don't forget to use tone of voice. Don't forget to use that personalization. That was what TheScentNest was using. If you remember that example, I added my name and that name shows up again in the next question. So I have a very personalized experience. Again, just make it fun, speak in your normal language and speak in your brand voice if that's something that you really crafted already. And now it's time to actually build a quiz, or at least I'm going to show you how you can build a quiz. And of course we are using Bluebarry to do so. Now let's log in for a second. And when I want to create a new quiz, I could just go to add a quiz funnel. And let's say this is a demo. That's the name of my quiz. I can use a couple of themes. Of course, I can create a theme specifically for my needs. This is a demo account, so I have some pre-made themes already, which I'm just going to pick one. And I want to use it as a pop-up. And I'm using Euro as my currency. And now I'm in the editing screen of the quiz. On the left hand side, you see I have a start page, I have the questions, and I have the results. We also have the product check, but that's not for this video. And I just want to show you a couple of design options that are in here. So let me edit this theme. Of course, I can use a custom font. I can use standard fonts. I can use a logo. I can use all the colors. I can choose the roundings of the buttons, the font sizes, everything you need to make sure it is within the style of your store, of your brand, and it doesn't look like some third-party tool that is slapped onto your website. It's fully on brand, which is very important. Okay, so let's look at the content itself. We are going to start with a start page. Welcome to our quiz. In 5 questions, you'll find a perfect keyboard. And I can use some images over here, which I'm not going to do right now. And I can just type away in the interface to actually build out the components of the quiz. So I have start quiz over here. Again, I have different font sizes that I can use. I can use images, I can use descriptions, titles. I can show the start page, not show the start page. Of course, that's a preference for yourself. And what you see immediately, that the whole thing is mobile friendly. It's mobile optimized, and the design is the central part of everything that we do. And for us, that's very important. I think 80% of your traffic will probably come from mobile. So being mobile first and just creating a very good design will definitely make it feel like it's fully part of your customer's journey. And that's what it's all about. Okay, so going on the left-hand side, I can just create some new questions. How are you going to use the keyboard? And I'll give it an internal name, which is category. Okay, so I'm mainly using it for at home, on the road, or I have a flexible working desk. Just a couple of reasons, just to give you a feeling of what's possible within the interface. Now, my question type is currently text only, but I can also use pictures, and I can upload some pictures. I can change it to an email input. So now the question title would be leave your email for 10% off. Just an example. Next, I can make this required. I can ask for some consent. Now you can create as many questions as you'd like. I normally advise having anywhere between 5 to 7 questions is the most optimal. And before you are showing the actual results that come out of the quiz, you can also add a pre-result page, which is a page where you can add some social proof. You can just add a cool, fun loading screen. You can do a lot of things over here, but we'll do a very simplified version for now. We are looking for your perfect keyboard. And what this will do is it shows a loading screen just before the actual recommendations are being shown. And it gives you that feeling that someone is actually looking for you. Of course, you have a preview, which goes for both. You can also switch to desktop view, which I didn't even show you right here. So let's use, for example, the text input, and text only. I want to show an image. I can choose a desktop layout, and I can choose the mobile layout. So you have a lot of different possibilities within the layout of your specific question, which I forgot to show you. Now, these are the keyboards that will fit you perfectly based on your quiz answers. We've selected these keyboards for you, and then you can choose how many results you want to show. Again, normally as a best practice, we say anywhere between 1 and 3 results is optimal, at least not more than 3, because then you're trying to solve choice overload, which is one of the things that you're solving with a product quiz, and you are adding choice stress, choice overload again on the product recommendation page, which is a bit weird. So we normally say 1 to 3 result cards is optimal. So you might have a best match and view products, and let's add one, which is a customer favorite and a price favorite. And now I'll always show 3 results because you added 3 result cards. And let me change these as well. View product, and this was our price, favorite, and this was our customer favorites. Okay, so now that you've identified how many results you want to show and what is exactly on the specific result cards, you want to match the results. And matching results means that you want to build some logic after someone answered a specific answer. So again, this is an example. Let me go to category and on the road, which was one of the answers that we added in that specific demo question, that example question. And now we're adding rules. And for example, on the road, I need a very small and flexible keyboard. So I might want to filter based on price, right? I want everything that is less than or equal to 40 euros. And you can also immediately see for how many products that is true. So how many products will be left over when someone answers this specific answer to this specific question. It could also mean that I need a high battery life, and the battery life needs to be equal to 36 months because I need that battery to be very good when I'm on the road constantly. And this is something that you can do for every answer. And after filling everything in, you can test out your product quiz by going into the flow section and just giving a couple of answers and see which keywords pop up on the right hand side. What you also can do is go to the funnel again and just preview it. And now we have a preview on mobile, and just start the quiz, answer the questions, and of course it immediately takes me to the result page. We didn't set up the pre-result page correctly, and these are the keywords that will fit your quiz perfectly. And this is also what an end customer might see. So let's exit this. But of course, this is a demo with some demo products, so you get the point. You need your own product data, your own product properties, and they will mainly come from product feed integrations, or we pull them immediately out of your store if you can add the product data to your Blueberry account. And the last thing that's very important to mention is that when you are publishing changes or when you're publishing your quiz, within the implementation step, you can actually choose how you want to launch it and how you want to display it and when. For example, you can choose between a button click, you can use a direct link click, you can instantly launch it on a page, you can do it after a certain time on the page, and you can also embed the whole product quiz as an iframe within your page. So you have a lot of possibilities there to make sure you can add it in any way as we saw on your web shop. Now I want to give you some best practices as a bonus. We derive these best practices from gathering all the data from all the different users and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And these 3 definitely stand out. So first of all, early commitment for a quiz taker. So using a start page, for example, using those easy questions like what's your name, what are you looking to achieve, very easy questions. But you have a very early commitment into the quiz. And when you have an early commitment, it also increases the chance that someone is completing the quiz. And when someone is completing the quiz, they are more likely to convert. So that first step within your quiz is very, very important. Next up, continuous optimization. Touched on this a little bit. I don't think you can build a 100% correct quiz on your first try. You probably can't. You need to build it for 80% and then publish it. Get some traffic, get some real data, some real results, and that will help you to optimize it towards that 100%. And that is probably a continuous process that is never ending. And again, that's also why we have that dashboard available, so you can learn from it, gather the data, and keep optimizing your quizzes. Lastly, connecting with email. Both examples that I've showed in that Figma file, both use cases, let's call it, both are using that email step, because I do think that's a very valuable thing. Capturing data from your audience, it's getting harder and harder and harder, and quizzes are a great way of getting zero-party data meaning data straight from your customer. So I would definitely advise you to connect with your ESP, build some follow-up campaigns, build upsell campaigns, cross-sell campaigns. That's very, very valuable. And that's it. That's how you actually build the product quiz within Blueberry. There's a bit more to it. It's a very short demo, but I would definitely advise you to just start a trial, test it out for yourself, see what you run into. And of course, you can always give me a heads up and get some help from my side, but hopefully you have a bit of inspiration on how to position your quiz on your web shop, what to take into account before building a quiz, and also you have some understanding of how to do this actually in Blueberry, which it isn't that hard. It isn't rocket science. It's just a product quiz. It should look good, it should give the right recommendations, and it should fit your web shop, it should fit your brand style and user experience, and then you're all set and good to go.